You can't give him 3 MVPs in a row. He's the worst MVP since Dave Cowens. Listen, bro. Wilds, listen. NBA history, listen.
Are you doing an impression of Josh, who does the impressions of me there? I think you were. All right, so everyone, Nick, are you going to apologize to Nikola Jokic? Yeah, listen, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry that I wanted to hold Nikola Jokic to the same standard that every great player ever has been held to. That's all. I just wanted him to earn it in the postseason before he won all of the regular season awards. You can say that's a dumb standard. It's always been the standard. And we don't have to go over the entire timeline of it, but the fact of the matter was, prior to this postseason, Nikola Jokic had one semi-deep playoff run, and his worst playoff series of his career was the only series post-round 2. Prior to this postseason, we had seen him beaten in round 1 and swept in round 2 in consecutive seasons, and we had seen him get these awards that typically we don't give multiple of until you have some pelts on the wall, and if you get multiple of them, a la Giannis, who was the other guy who got 2 MVPs before going to a finals, or Nash, other guy who got multiple MVPs before going to a finals, we are then uber skeptical of you until you do what? What he just did. Okay. He's a great player. I have acknowledged that he was a great player for the last 3 years when I've said he's a top 3 MVP candidate. I said this year that if he had not, in my opinion, unjustly won the previous 2 MVPs, I would have voted for him this year. The question of Jokic was, can he do it deep in the postseason? And can another team exploit his biggest weakness, lack of foot speed, to kill his team in the playoffs? He answered both of those questions resoundingly. He's been brilliant these playoffs, and the Lakers could not exploit the lack of foot speed defensively. He was more than adequate defensively. So now he's done it. Like, I'm sorry that I just wanted him to do it before we said he's one of the 20 greatest players ever.
Well, look.
Can I go with it?
Yeah, go ahead.
If I was a director of a movie, I'd be like, good. Let's do it a little more apologetically.
Oh, no.
I like what you had there, but let's try it again.
Because I just want, if what I was doing was unfair to Jokic, then what the entire world was doing was unfair to Giannis. Neither was unfair. Neither was.
Look, I didn't vote I voted for Embiid. Because, look, Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic all had great seasons. Any one of them, as you have many years, was worthy of winning MVP. The reason I didn't vote Jokic third straight was not for Nick's reason of he hadn't been to the finals or the conference finals more than once or whatever. It was because I believe if you're going to win that third straight and join Wilt, Russell, and Bird, that third season needs to be head and shoulders above the guys you're competing with. And they were all pretty close. And so I went with Embiid. But here to answer your question, honestly, I do believe he is the best player in the world.
Wow.
It's certainly in my mind between him and Giannis.
Yeah.
And most people would say if they say it's not Jokic, it is because, well, defensively, he's not great defensively. Here's the thing. He's smart. All right. So that and his size, just the fact that he's big, makes him not a negative on the defensive end. Now, he's not much of a positive, but at least he's big and he's smart. So his defense isn't really a negative and it doesn't get exploited.
It's not like Nash.
No. I mean, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson weren't terrific individual defenders, but they were smart. They got steals and they weren't negatives on the defensive end. And everybody we're talking about Jokic and Giannis. Giannis is not without weaknesses either.
Well,
Giannis doesn't shoot the jump shot very well. So at the end of games, if he can't get to the paint and to the bucket, then you can't go to him. We saw him running from the basketball. I didn't even mention his poor free throw shooting. But my point is, if it's those two, and if you want, Embiid's out of it as far as I'm concerned, as far as best player in the world. Anybody else you bring in has weaknesses. So Jokic has no weaknesses offensively. He'll score on you on the block. He'll hit the jump shot. He'll hit the three. He's a phenomenal passer, best passing big man ever in my book. He leads the freaking fast break.
Yeah, I know.
They run everything through him, yet he's not ball dominant. That is incredible. This dude, I do think, is the best player in the world.
I think offensively, he's clearly right now the best player in the world. Going into the year, again, full disclosure, going into the year, I would have said Luka. Can't say that anymore. Offensively, the best player in the world. And because his weakness was not exploited and Giannis's weakness was exploited, the free throw shooting most notably, that has opened the door. Polygraph test right now, who would I rather have? I'd rather have Giannis, but unlike what I would have said 2 months ago, it's a real legitimate argument. But the NBA is not baseball. And it never has been. There is no Mike Trout, the best player in the world. What does he do in the playoffs? Doesn't matter. It's not his fault. That's never how we've done it. And the idea that folks were beating you over the head if you wanted to see what he's doing now done, and the idea of, you can't hold any of the previous stuff against him, team wasn't good enough. Plenty of guys who are all-time greats, they didn't carry bad supporting cast to championships, but they carried them on deep playoff runs. In
the last 2 years, he hasn't had Murray, and that's big.
Well,
and most guys need someone else.
Correct. And now he has it, and he's doing it, and he just won the Magic Johnson Award. He deserves all of this. I'm glad he has gone out and done it, but I wanted to see him do it.
That's fair. So how good is Denver? One of the best, according to LeBron. Take a listen.
Well, they better finish the deal. Because if they lose to Miami, then you certainly can't say they're the best team. I would say right now,
Miami gets dissed in the middle of a
no. If they don't win the finals, it's hard to say that. Now, I think right now the only team comparable to them, I believe, would be Phoenix in 2021 when they got to the finals and they beat the Lakers. That was the first round, but that Phoenix team wasn't great at 3-point shooting. No. And even though they had a 7-footer in DeAndre Ayton, he wouldn't punish you on the block. So I do think, because a lot of NBA teams today all have flaws. They're too small, they're too young, they don't have chemistry. A lot of lack of chemistry because of all the moving around. Silliness, whatever. All right? Silly. The Nuggets do have it all. Big, play inside, and also great shooters, run the ball, well coached. They do have it all.
So listen, LeBron, if we're assuming LeBron's talking about the teams they've played in the postseason, here's the list. The Blazers in 2020, Nuggets are obviously better. The Rockets in 2020, that was Russ and Harden. Nuggets are obviously better. The Nuggets in 2020, this Nuggets is better. The Heat in 2020, the Nuggets are better. The Suns, who you mentioned, I agree with. And then this year, the Grizzlies this year, the Nuggets are better. The Warriors this year, the Nuggets are better. It's clearly the Nuggets. And that's true even if they lose to Miami. And even if they lose to Miami, they're still better than all the other teams.
How much better is this Miami team than the one LeBron beat in the finals? In 2020.
I'm not certain. I'm not. But one last thing about this Nuggets team. What was so impressive to me is not just that Jokic and Murray, their two stars, delivered. It was that in Game 1. KCP and Bruce Brown had monster games. They did that again in Game 3. And yesterday was the best playoff game of Aaron Gordon's life. That is what makes a great team, is when not so much the random Lonnie Walker game, that's a nice bonus, but when the key members of your rotation are able to rise to the occasion in the moments they needed it. They needed it from KCP the 2 nights they gave it to him. They needed it from Aaron Gordon last night. He gave it to him. This is an excellent team.
This is also a lesson in whether it's historically or now, in that you don't judge. A team's not automatically better if they have 2 or 3 superstars. This is one team with one superstar and an all-star. Like Aaron Gordon is Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is an all-star caliber. But yet they are a great team. So that, the super team isn't always better because the chemistry might not be.
Jamal Murray, 50, 40, 90, might be knocking on the door.
He'll be an all-star going forward.
I think so.
Because of
AD?
this run.
You want him to take AD's spot?
I don't know. You just told me.
Playoff down on AD now?
I'm not down on AD, but I'm just saying 50, 40, 90 in the playoffs pretty good.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.